Welcome back, StarCraft fans, from the internet and also inside the arena as we continue the search for the next champion, the next WCS Summer Champion, as we continue on with day one of the tournament. 2 games down, third one coming up, as a total of 8 matches will be played today, and we're looking forward to every single one of them. Welcome back, everybody. A big thank you to our sponsors, Zowie, Razer, G2A, Monster Energy, and Alienware. Remember to go to Twitter, #DHOpen and #WCS for all those tweets, and maybe, I don't know, Instagram or whatever else you're going to use. Remember to include the hashtag. I guess it kind of makes sense there too. Welcome back to the panel. I have Rotti, Maynard, and Tasteless. Every one of those intros, I work my way through them somehow. Sometimes it doesn't make sense what I say, but as long as I keep you guys entertained and the ones at home, I think I'm doing okay. How are you doing, Tasteless? You're looking fantastic.
Thank you very much. I'm also super excited to be casting with Maynard. It's our first time ever doing this together.
I'm actually really excited to cast with Tasteless.
Our first casting date.
So
it
is.
That's right. We're both a little nervous, but
who's going to make the kiss?
That's right.
It's going to hurt at first, but it'll feel really good later.
That's right.
Oh my God. Tasteless, your beard continues to grow from Korea to Canada.
And so does my wisdom. With each passing day, I'm becoming wiser and wiser about StarCraft 2. Now a dinosaur of eSports. But seriously, it's super good to be down here. I'm really excited about our match coming up.
Yeah, we do have a good one coming up. But before we talk about that, let's have a quick fun, think back to the previous match we just saw. What are your thoughts? I know you said a lot about it in the broadcast, but
yeah,
you want to summarize it in 20 seconds what you said?
I think overall decent performance by Cero. I think he played a little bit closer to the Cero that we remember from the later stages of 2015 and early 2016. But Uturmo is just a Reaper god, and he can say that he's like, I'm not particularly good with the Reaper. Stop! You're amazing with Reapers.
I can't believe he said that, man, in front of all those people. He lied to them straight up.
It's like in the average game, he kills like 37 units before he loses his first Reapers. Like, I think that means you're pretty good with them.
Well, this is pretty indicative of every pro gamer interview you're going to have. Is like, you have an amazing series, it's so close, it's so back and forth, and then he's like,
so many mistakes.
I was quite disappointed with my play back there, even though I completely dominated my opponent and continued to move on into one of the highest ranks in the world.
Also, what stood out there was, he's like, game 1 Frost was kind of a lame game, I think it was boring. It's like, no, it was awesome. It was like counterattacks left and right. I mean, I guess whenever you lose, you're always like, kind of a mediocre game, that one, I'm going to forget about it. But it's like, no, for the average viewer out there, that was actually a pretty good game. So I think it was a fun series, but it's definitely good. I mean, we went over the inconsistency that a lot of the foreign pros have. It's good to see Uturmo just be on a real roll over here. Like, not just 1 or 2, but 3 tournaments in a row now. Solid.
Hopefully you can keep it running through this tournament. Let's take a quick look at the bracket then, and to see where we are if you're just tuning in now for the first time. We've had a couple of matches played already, and we're starting to build our round of 16 very, very slowly. Of course, throughout today, we will complete the round of 32, but of course, a lot more matches still to come. Welmer versus Mana, those are the first 2 players that went through earlier today, and we had Hero Marine also beat Showtime. Showtime going up 2-0 to go 2-2 and to lose another series in this way.
That result at the top of the bracket there is just so surprising to so many people. I mean, if you picked Hero Marine to beat Showtime, then I'm like, you must know something that we don't, because that is that's the spring champion right there. I can't believe he went down already.
You jinxed him, Sean. You mentioned this in the beginning of the day.
It's that Apollo curse,
so sorry.
right? Is that what they call it?
It happens everywhere.
That's right.
Here's the schedule for the rest of the day. Coming up next is going to be Harstem versus Iaguz. We'll talk about that in a second. Massa versus Major. And then, of course, going on to the second half of the day, Snoop versus True. Of course, everybody's looking forward to see that one. Well, I hope so, at least. And then Violet, Kelazor, Drogo, Bunny, and then ending the night with a good one. That's going to be Puck versus Scarlet, America versus Canada. It's going to be a brilliant game. But let's change and focus our attention to the upcoming match, which we've got Tasteless here to broadcast for us.
I'm super excited, man. It's going to be our first match with me casting here tonight, but I think this is going to be a tough one. I think Harstem is looking very strong right now. I would love to see an upset. We've already had some upsets so far, but I think it's fair to say that Harstem should come out on top here.
Absolutely. I mean, Australians, we've
had a rocky history in StarCraft.
I mean, Pig seems to cast more than he plays recently.
There's a reason there, but we won't get into it. But, I mean, my man, I guess he actually is here because the 2 people in front of him that actually did qualify for this event couldn't make it for whatever reason. I think Ender had a visa issue. Cedar he was the guy that actually won the tournament, had a personal issue, couldn't come down. And I guess was 3rd place. Yeah. And I think a lot of it had to do with the demotivation back then. One positive thing I can say about Iaguz is that I've been talking to him a lot. He's a good friend of mine. And he's been saying that I'm very motivated to play StarCraft right now, and I've actually been having a really good time with this season's ladder this ladder pool, and I've actually, I've felt that drive to win, that drive to play, and that's going to be very important because he's up against someone that he's not really had a good history against.
And he understands that too. He knows that Harstem's a tough opponent.
Well, he actually was we're in a Discord chat together, and he was like, all us Aussie StarCraft 2 players, all 20 of us. And he was like, he's like, oh, sweet, I get a trip over to Toulouse to Harstem. Oh, nice 3-0, it's going to be great. So he's, he doesn't mince words, young Iaguz.
Yeah, he's quite truthful.
He's very blunt.
But, he's got a lot of experience at this point in time, and that really is, I think, the most important thing. We can talk about these players who are like, well, when I'm at home, alone, in the dark, I'm the best. I win every game on ladder. It's when I come to these tournaments I can't perform. But Iaguz has had a long history here of going to tournaments, and I think the more that he's able to do that, the higher chances of him having good results here are. Eventually, this just becomes a bit of a routine.
He actually has been doing a little bit better each tournament, if you look at it tasteless. So it's a good point.
But within the Harstem decade, he is starting to perform on one of the years that he's promised it, and he has been doing pretty good this year, Kev.
He's the only player that has won 2 tournaments so far since Legacy of the Void came out, but there is a small but with Kev, or Harstem in this case. It's a little bit everything or nothing. Either he goes all the way and he wins the damn thing, or he bums out in the round of 32. I mean, in spring, DreamHack Tours, he lost against Jim. Even a much more recent tournament, DreamHack Austin wasn't a great run either. He lost to Namchar, I think a little bit surprising. DreamHack Valencia lost in the 3rd group stage. I mean, a guy that has won 2 tournaments is not supposed to lose to Verdi. I mean, Marine Lord was great there, so losing to Marine Lord is maybe not that upsetting. But losing to Verdi, so Kev is definitely like...
It's One Direction time.
I mean, he's the example of being someone that is inconsistent, despite the fact that he's won 2 tournaments so far.
And he does love his...
He's getting his jam on right now.
His little jam.
Here we go.
His boogie in the booth.
Now, when the camera cuts to Iaguz, you'll find him to be a little bit more serious and focused here. And he is actually that kind of player. He's very much the macro guy. If anything, the weakness in that is that he's predictable. But he just tries to win by just being better at what he does than the opponent. Unfortunately, Harstem's PvT is pretty outstanding.
Yeah,
so
it's really
It's a tall mountain to climb here for the Gimli Terran.
I think that Uthermal said that Kev has the best Protoss versus Terran in Europe. I mean, recently he played against Innovation as well. Great game on New Gettysburg in the King of the Hill tournament that Total Biscuit hosted. I think that's a game that a lot of people looked at as like Harstem should have won that game against Innovation. He pretty much had, everything in the right place to close it out and win.
The win rate on screen, by the way, is against their opponent, so that win rate is versus Harstem. Iaguz a funny chap. He is a funny chap in his own way.
He's a lovely bloke.
He is capable to bring out good games when it's not expected, which I think something we've seen from Iaguz over the years is we not expect very much from him, then all of a sudden he'll come out and roll an opponent, and that is something obviously that we should take in consideration in this series, especially with Harstem's inconsistency.
That's actually occasionally a very good position to be in when you're not expected to win. If you lose, okay, no big deal. But if you bring any good results to the table, then that's really exciting, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes this can be an ideal situation psychologically for somebody like Iaguz coming up here.
It's interesting to me that Iaguz let New Gettysburg slip in there. It's definitely a map that he doesn't want to play TVP on. But other than that, these look like a reasonably solid set of maps there for this matchup.
I think it's kind of raw. I think Apotheosis is a very rough map as well for Terra, and it's just so hard to find any sort of drop timings whatsoever. The only thing you can hope for is that Protoss is maybe overly greedy, take the gold, and then make some sort of a tank push. But I think this is a pretty decent map for Harstem. I think he's going to be very happy with these 2 very large maps. And I mean, Harstem is very good in getting that nice mix between Blinkstalkers, Adapts, getting a couple of disruptors as well, and using those disruptors to then build time for maybe get an Oracle and get Tempest out eventually. He's really good. Like, even though Harstem has been inconsistent, I really don't see him lose here. Like that would just be a massive upset to me. And he needs the WCS points because yes, he's won 2 tournaments, but one of them was not a WCS tournament. So in the end of the day, he can only fall back to the Gold Series Invitational we had in Shanghai. So he needs those points badly.
With the top 4 finish, he could see himself within the top 8, and then he's really in contention for one of those 8 spots to play at the global playoffs. I'm sure. I mean, every single player in the WCS wants to be able to go to the global playoffs, and well, he's got a lot of work ahead of him. Iaguz, though, not quite the player we're looking at to make the global playoffs. He's kind of in here to upset a couple of players, perhaps, and see how far he can get and how much money he can make.
I would love to see the odds on Iaguz making it to BlizzCon. I really would.
Well, he's got to win this tournament.
I mean, guys, I don't mean to diss my fellow Australian player here. I'm just trying to be realistic and objection-based caster, and
Yeah, I mean, I think your objectivity is pretty fair. It's like,
So yeah, we were not really making a point for Iaguz making it to BlizzCon, but
well, it would be cool if, like, let's say he wins here. I think if you're Iaguz, you have to take it like each match at a time. You cannot think about this as like, I'm going to get to the top of Mount Everest. I'm going to actually win this tournament. You just say, okay, how high can I climb?
Yeah.
And if I get that far, then I got to see the next challenge.
I would definitely say that's his mindset.
Sir Tasteless,
Yes.
it is time for predictions, and you are going to begin.
Okay.
Who are we going with?
I think it's Harstem. I think it is maybe 3-1.
Okay.
Or maybe 3-0, but I think it's going to be Harstem no matter what.
I'm going to say Harstem 3-1 as well.
That hurts me inside to
sorry.
see you go that way, but
I think it's going to be Harstem trio this time. I think he could not have asked for a better draw. Like, his PvT is good at the moment, and even though this has been a great year for Harstem, he's been not performing in winter and spring championships. I mean, he lost against Masa in the round of 16 in Katowice, if I recall correctly, and then this time round of 32. But I think this time we're going to see a very good Harstem in the round of 32.
all right, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to pass over to the commentary team to my left. It is going to be Tasteless and, of course, Maynard. Take it away, boys.
All right, sick, man. We're finally casting together, man. This is super
About
exciting.
time.
I know. We've been to so many events together.
We have.
I'm really looking forward to this. I am really excited to see if Iaguz can maybe pull a rabbit out of his hat here, maybe cause a big upset, but Harstem is going to be a very tough opponent. Guys, let's make some noise. This is game number 1. Harstem versus Iaguz.
And in the top left, the Dutch Protoss. This is Invasion's Harstem.
And down here in the bottom right, our blue Terran, make some noise for Iaguz!
On his new team, Nuovu, who's been on them for a couple months now, and they've been treating him well. So it's they don't have too many StarCraft 2 players. I think he might be the only one. They get the Hearthstone team, I think. But yeah.
I remember when I first met Iaguz, I think that was, what was that? That was when I first met you back. Was that in 20?
That was when we first met each other, 2012.
2012, that's
WCS,
right.
Yeah.
So he's been playing for a long time, very competitive, also older than some of the other pro gamers out here. So look, he might have his night here tonight, and I think, like I was saying earlier, you got to take it one series at a time. You can never think about like, oh, but I might not make the finals, so why bother trying? I think if he just devotes himself to each game and gives it his all, I still think he's got a good shot to get deep in this.
Yeah, I mean, as much as he is modest and talks about how he's not got too much of a chance here, I think that he does actually. He's a pro gamer. He takes every match very seriously, every series very seriously, and so does Harstem. So it's just going to come down to who's better on the day, and the better player generally does win in a best of 5. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, best of 5 is easily one of the best formats you can have here. You do best of 1s or best of 3s. Something can go wrong somewhere, and then we can end up with a result where we think, ooh, that doesn't feel like, especially based off their skill sets, where it's going to be. So let's go ahead and look at game number 1 to see what kind of tempo we're going to get coming out of Iaguz, and also what kind of strats we're going to see coming from Harstem. Is he going to do anything too cheesy? Is he going to try to throw him off in the mid game, or is he going to play a more standard game? Because in a best of 5, it is so much about trying to download and acquire as much information about your opponent, especially in game 1 and 2, so that in game 3 and possibly 4 and 5, you have the answers to the style of play that they're giving you.
Well, speaking of scouting information, that's the thing. You see that Iaguz is opening for a reacted barracks there, going straight into Marine production, no Reapers here. Just having a look in the main of Harstem with the SCV. It's getting all the information that he wants in the early game. We can see that Harstem is going for that Stargate tech path, which is quite, a little bit different in PvT. Like they generally like to go for, a depth pressure and this sort of thing. We are seeing a depth shed across the map, but this could be Oracle. It could be Phoenix for something wild.
It absolutely could be. I would bet it would be Oracle, but of course you can mix it up. That's why Stargate Tech is pretty scary at times. Looks like the Shade is going to be able to get by here. Let's see if there's anything to block. He should have a wall in. Oh, not a full wall in though.
Yeah, it just cancels the Shade and actually allows the Adept to escape that bowl of Marines that it didn't look like he was expecting at all. And Iaguz is doing something that's a little bit interesting that Koreans have started to be doing in this matchup. See the Oracle coming out of here from Harstem as Flo is showing us right now, but he's going to go for a Hellion harass here, and this is generally something you try and do. Generally, you want to be hitting in the main at the same time as when this is coming down, but you can actually get a good cluster of probes to run by here.
Yeah,
if you're lucky.
I think this is really smart because a lot of Protosses become super greedy. We already see, for instance, Harstem taking a third base here. Now, a lot of Protosses, they can get away with it, but when you get the Hellions out and you have the Reapers, you have the ability to just force them to stretch out potentially a little bit too thin, and you can get a lot of worker kills. In fact, that Oracle going by, meanwhile, the Reaper now coming into the main.
Yeah, this Reaper's going to be uncontested for a little bit. There's actually, nothing to contest it at all for now, so he's just going to get a couple free probe kills here, maybe even 3. The Adept in the main yard just to come to deal with it. But the real story is does Iaguz have anything against this Oracle here? All of his units are actually down the ramp.
Now this is a huge issue because we saw Reapers are being made early on, and then he went into Hellion, so he doesn't have a ton of anti-air here.
God.
Already 5 SCVs going down. The Oracle going to try to poke in here and do a little bit more damage. It does appear that Reaper was either zoned out or destroyed. I believe it was actually killed back there. So things are going to stabilize there, but the threat of the Oracles right now for Terran is still a real thing.
Absolutely. He needs to start getting some anti-air happening. Meanwhile, these Hellions are coming into the mineral line, getting a couple more probe kills. And any more probe kills he can get actually negates the damage of the Oracle a little bit because he's done his own worker damage. You can see that it's actually an advantage of Iaguz.
Yeah, both these guys right now trading some serious blows. It does look like Iaguz is going to switch back into Marine production. Now, Marines obviously can hit and zone out an Oracle, but you have to make sure they're in the right spot. If you have your Marines in a bad spot and the Oracle comes in, doesn't really matter how many Marines you have, you're still going to be able to take out a lot of Terran SCVs and probably escape with no problem.
Double Oracle now. This is tough to engage with the Bowl of Marines. You really need a turret or something. This many Marines actually isn't going to cut the mustard, but Harstem doesn't actually need to engage. Just going to drop the Revelation there and just mosey on by. Sees where the army is of the Terran, and because he has that quick third Nexus, his worker lead is very healthy right now. 46 probes to 38 SCVs.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Maynard. I really like the position that we're seeing here. For Harstem, especially with the tagging there on the Marines. He's not getting too greedy, trying to go in there and get too many SCVs. He says, okay, we know Terran is on 2 bases. Let me go ahead and back up and just keep an eye over here. It looks like he's going to poke in again. He's just trying to monitor and make sure that there's no units leaving that are going to surprise him here.
I feel like he could do so much damage with these double Oracles, but he's being very careful with them at the moment.
Well, I guess he's saying that because he has 3 bases up and running, there was some trading going on, but he is going to be able to get a lot of these, the rest of this tech up here, and he should be able to hold back Iaguz for a little bit. Even though Iaguz only got a few Reapers and went for those Hellions, it wasn't a really focused Marine production right away. Maybe he feels like a little bit safer from pressure here. But yeah, if I'm wrong, excuse me, and Harstem is not safe, then Iaguz could really do some damage here.
I actually can't think of a single moment when you've been wrong in your 10-year career of casting.
Maynard, we're going to be casting together all the time now. This is great.
Yeah, there's no honeymoon stage for us.
We're going right into it.
The one thing that Harstem does here, he has complete knowledge of the army move out here of Iaguz, and he's been keeping very, very safe there, going up the double forge, getting double upgrades, so he's ready for the later game here to power on that superior economy. He does know that he has a force to deal with, but look at that. He already has a ton of units here to be able to deal with these just the Marines and a single Widow Mine here. I mean, they do have stim, but...
Well, the problem is Protoss knows they're coming. When you know that army's coming, especially because you tagged it, you can get the right force fields up. You can get the right army arc up here. He stims, he comes up, Protoss backs up. Guardian Shield is activated. No force fields just yet. I don't know if Iaguz can actually try to push in here.
Well, the Guardian Shield's making it a little bit awkward. These Adepts tanking a lot of damage at the front there, and the Marines are quite hurt after a stim there. So, meanwhile, Iaguz is going to get +1 pretty shortly, and Combat Shield, but Harstem's 1-1 is about to finish for his Gateway units, and that's going to make it even easier for him to hold here if he's careful with that Widow Mine. Yeah, he's just got so much Protoss units here.
Yeah, he's in a very good spot. He's able to try to drive back these units. I think this is a lost cause. Iaguz debating picking up. Whoa! He takes out the Medivacs, and it looks like the second Medivac may be taken out here as well. No, the blink is not done. There it is. Takes that out.
Yeah, out of boost, out of options there, and the Medivac goes to hell. And that is it for the pressure of Iaguz for now. Harstem with a commanding lead in the mid-game here for game 1.
This may tilt the axis for Protoss, where he can actually then put his own pressure back onto the Terran's third base. When you lose the 2 Medivacs, when you lose the Marines inside of them, and it wasn't like Protoss was really bleeding off units in that fight, which means he's going to have at least the option of a very powerful third base timing attack, trying to deny Terran and just keep him on 2 bases. And a lot of times for Protoss, in a phase of the game like this, that's all you have to do.
And Iaguz is trying to get up into Liberator tech here, which is obviously amazing in TVP, one of the best combat units in the whole game. But he actually needs to use that starport to make more medevacs, as we're seeing here in the production tab, because he's lost them during that attack. He absolutely needs them for the bio. He's gearing up for Tier 2. Harstem already heading towards Tier 3 with a robotics bay on the way.
I want to hit off something you said, because I think it's absolutely correct, is that, you know, when you lose medevacs, you're going to have to remake that. It is, ouch.
Ooh,
okay, there's one little
man.
Victory.
Yeah.
Might not win him the war here, but
man.
if you get too low on medevacs and you're making liberators, your army's not going to heal. If they stim, you can blink away, do all sorts of tricks like that. He's got the 2 medevacs with that now, but we're going to have to keep an eye on the liberators and the medevacs and see how much he can keep that combination there. Because if Protoss takes that out 2 or 3 times, there's no way to recover his Terran.
I mean, Harstem's being careful right now. Actually, he's going for possibly multiple prong here, getting some adepts loaded up into that warp prism while he heads with the majority of his army here towards the third of Iaguz. Does load up that warp prism, starts heading towards the main, and I feel like he just has enough to seal the deal here. There's not that many liberators from Iaguz. I think he only has 2 over his army at the moment.
I think he's just waiting for his attack and armor upgrades to finish here, right?
Yeah, it'd be great timing.
He's going to, I think, warp into the main here, and then we're going to see Harstem stream down from the top and try to hit these 2 locations at the same time. Some of the Marines and Marauders coming down. Here's that attack over here in the front. Liberation zones come down, tagging there. Meanwhile, Adepts over here taking out these SCVs. 3 locations being attacked at once.
Great multitask here from Harstem. He's doing damage all over the shop. 13 SCVs going down, and the threat of the main force of Harstem is still looming. It looks like he's actually pulling back, which is kind of surprising. I feel like he actually could have broken the neck of Iaguz there with that army, but just being careful, because you cannot throw against Liberators. It is a tough unit.
Yeah, you know, you got to show Liberators respect. We've seen some cool plays where the Protoss just jump on top of the Liberators and win, but we've seen even more games where they just jump in there and lose their entire ground army, and you think, why on earth did you attack a Terran when he's in a good position, right? Well, I mean, you want to try to get Terran when they're in a transitional period, always trying to move their army.
Oh, some blinks forward here. Could pick up a Liberator right at the middle. No, he actually saves that one Liberator for now. And the bio being split up with his Guardian Shields a little bit makes it a little bit tough for the Terran. He is doing damage to the Protoss army, though. Harstem has to blink back.
He actually did a great job taking out 3 of those Liberators, and the Stim army is still coming up here right now. Liberator not able to do additional damage, but there are medevacs healing. Eventually, Terran does have to back up. We should have another warp-in round here from Protoss. Potentially, Iaguz may try to press forward even further.
2-2 on the way for Iaguz, but it looks like it's already done for Harstem, and he's heading towards Tier 3. He has Disruptors on the way, and he made a Fleet Beacon as well, so he's all ready to start Tempest production. He knows he's in a great spot, and he can actually just keep Iaguz on his side of the map and continue to power here. +3 attack on the way for Harstem now.
Yep, Harstem looking absolutely great, and I think those Disruptors are going to be very handy, especially with the limited number of Liberators that Terran has. It's not a lot of room to hide under anything, so that's going to make those Disruptors very good back there.
A shade in from the Adepts, leaving a little bit of an opening here for Harstem to come back in, but he's just taking it easy, waiting for that Disruptor, which is going to be very, very important. And you're right, there's just not that much here from the Terran, and not too many medevacs to load up into to dodge those Disruptor, those Purification Novas. It's a little bit tough, and we got a situation where Iaguz is struggling to keep it on 3. Harstem's at 4 bases and has been for a while here.
You know, one thing, way back when I was starting StarCraft, a player who was a lot better than me gave me some advice and said, look, if you know you can beat the other player, like you know you should be overall better, just play a safe game. They're going to make more mistakes than you are in the long run. And you can see Harstem is poking in, but unless he's 100% certain, he's not going to commit to any attacks. And that's allowing him to slowly just get a bigger and bigger lead here.
And all these revelations on the Terran army just keep him all the information he needs. He knows exactly where his army needs to be, exactly what he is up against. He sees 2 Liberators here with a 3rd one heading towards the top here to get a nice big concave of Liberation Zones for the Terran. And Iaguz is just going to need a couple really good engagements here to be able to clench back in this game. He is down significantly in workers.
All right, stimming and coming forward here. He does try to get that Tempest. The Tempest now going back. Liberation zones are set up. It looks like both Liberators have not been picked out. Now one is taken out. Terran continuing to press. Will Harstem be able to hang on?
He's actually doing a good job so far, but there's still so much Protoss left. EMPs on the Protoss army. A lot of that half the hit points now. The Tempest doing damage in the air. They're not targeting on the Liberators. They are down. The Terran army is actually cutting through a mainly Stalker army here, Tasteless.
Harstem was actually maxed out, and Iaguz was at about 120 supply back there, but managed to push in.
But back at home, somehow Iaguz has lost nearly 20 SCVs.
Oh, there you go.
With these Adepts back at home, so this was kind of all or nothing for Iaguz.
Well, it was close. I mean, he did push pretty far forward here, but if you're losing that many SCVs at home, and still the Adepts are out here doing damage, that, even though one was a big battle and the other one was much more minor, taking out all these workers is, I think, something that Iaguz just could not afford to have happen in this game. And there it is, GG!
Well played from Harstem, showing his PvT dominance again. That was such a clean, crisp, well-executed game here. Oh, he dusted his shoulder.
Dust his shirt.
What
Get
a bowler.
that nerd off your shoulder. But, no, that was... I don't even know if he meant to do that. If we're making too much out of that.
He absolutely meant to do that.
That was...
absolutely.
I gotta say, I thought Iaguz did a decent job, but really the way that Harstem approached that game about being super cautious, about not overextending, and especially with just tagging with the oracles. I mean, if you know... Like, look, almost all good Terrans are going to beat you because they're out-positioning you, they're out-maneuvering you. If you're already ready with force fields, if you're ready to arc your Adepts and Stalkers into the right spot, it's going to be tough for Terran to win, and that's something Harstem really exploited back there.
I guess really couldn't keep any secrets from Harstem in that entire game. Harstem knew exactly where his army was and how much he had. In fact, there was a period where he didn't know how much army he had because he actually could have probably A-moved and crushed him in the earlier game there on Frozen Temple. Be interesting to see here what the next map comes for.
But look at the supplies real fast here at the bottom of the screen, guys. That was 187. I'm sorry, Iaguz actually had more than I thought. He was at nearly 140. Now, he was pushing back here, but while this attack was going on, and we're getting this highlighted here by Flo, 18 SCVs are already killed. So even though this is the more exciting battle to a casual observer, it's actually still going to lose him the war, even though he's pushing Terran back.
Yeah. Like I said, when this happened, it's an all-or-nothing move from Iaguz. When you lose that much back at home and you're already down in workers at that point, where you're just at a point you cannot recover. Like, he has no fourth CC, he's on 3 bases, and he just doesn't have the production to be able to catch up to the worker count. But Harstem was just... I mean, if he didn't tap out, he would have been minutes from rolling him over with just sheer numbers.
Well, let's see what Iaguz does to adjust here. And it looks like, by the way, we are actually going right now into game number 2 here.
Beautiful.
Guys, make some noise. Our player here in the bottom left in the red. Give it up for Harstem!
And in the bottom right from Team Nauru, make some noise for the Australian. This is Iaguz.
So let's see what adjustments Iaguz is going to make in his play this time around. I like what Harstem did, but you know, Harstem was just playing a very safe game.
Yes.
Which I think is, for the most part, all he has to do, right? If he's this comfortable against his opponent. But let's see what Iaguz adjusts, and let's see how he handles maybe the Oracle's tagging his army more, if he has more splitting, or takes medevacs that aren't tagged and tries to drop places. Harstem isn't.
Even if Harstem chooses to make Oracles this game, it's kind of up for contention what he wants to do. There's a lot of choices here. New Gettysburg is one of those maps where people like, you know, the Protosses and the Zergs generally have a pretty good time on it because you can make a lot of bases, you can defend pretty easily, whereas the Terran doesn't really want to ever use this path that we're watching this probe come down here. It's too skinny, a lot of splash damage from the Protoss army, and you really need to be very, very careful.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny map.
It's kind of like Ulrina turned onto its side, but with a few differences.
It's like a stretched out version of Ulrina, with islands which are more accessible, and I don't know if islands are going to be something that we'll see used here.
It's actually, the wall around the islands is the coolest part for me. How you can actually block the vision of units when you go around it.
Well, they've had a hard time in StarCraft 2 encouraging players to use islands, because if you look at, like, for instance, Terran, they can drop your island so hard. They have like 5 medevacs that it's like, really, are you going to hold that island? Probably not, but at least making these walls around that gives you a little bit more defense, so you can't just be hit from any side, anywhere, at any time.
Absolutely. An SCV scout here from Iaguz. Smartly, too, because this is obviously, as we pointed out, a short rush distance if Harstem chooses to put on a depth pressure, so he just knows what he's up against the early game here. And quick second guess here from Iaguz as he gets up into the next stage. Looking like he might want to go Hellions again. We just have to see what the plan is here from the Gimli Terran.
Yeah, and we'll also have to see how Harstem actually tries to handle that. I mean, you know, when you play enough Protoss, you get pretty used to some of the Terran pokes to come in here, even the Terran drops. But if a player does pull off a really good move early on here, sometimes they can just get you when you're caught off guard. Now, we do see, as you were saying...
same opening as the last game.
Yep. Just a Widow Mine here being made. But, the Adept is going to go ahead and chase this SCV around. He's going to try to pick that off and keep scouting to a minimum here. I do wonder on this map if this is the kind of map where Terran wants to play like the longest possible game and not try to be aggressive.
Terrans really don't want to play long games against Protoss.
Tell me about that.
I mean, actually, like the later game, Terrans do want to be in the super supreme late game, but we could see in the last game, Harstem is very, very comfortable. When he dropped that double forge, I'm like, okay, he thinks he's the better player in this game. He wants to go for the later game. He wants to go for the macro game, and that's usually what you do when you feel like you're
right.
You know, that's your strength against that against your opponent.
It's funny, like those are always the scariest kind of players, right? Where they're like, well, I don't really care about what's happening now if you can't kill me. I'm going to be more ahead later on. Okay, I'm not relying on this one special unit popping out and I hit you with a window timing, or I'm crossing my fingers and hoping I can out micro you. Well, I just know the longer this game goes on, I'm going to be able to out muscle you. And there's a unit called the Tempest, Tasteless, and I've heard about that unit.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Liberator making Terran, which most Terrans are in TVP, when it's Tempest o'clock, it's kind of, you know, it's pretty tough to win from that point. I'm not going to say it's all over, but it's pretty tough to win. Yeah,
it would seem like if they were going Tempest, you'd have to start dropping them all over the place, where the Tempests are not, but it's easier said than done. By the way, the Oracle coming in here now does not go for any kills. Super cautious play.
Yeah, just saving his energy there, going for a little bit of a scout. Can put a tag on there, but once again from Harstem going for a pretty quick third Nexus. Iaguz actually dropping a little bit earlier this game is going to actually top this up and force Harstem to react here.
Let's see how much damage this can actually do. I think with the Oracle coming up here, all right, he's going to have to back up for sure. He may send the Oracle over here and try to tag that medevac.
Maybe. He has a lot of options. The wonderful thing about the Oracle is it has many functions for the Protoss army. Good addition to the Protoss arsenal. See a triple drop here from Iaguz with 3 Widow Mines. A little bit different from the last game, not using any Hellions, getting a lot of Widow Mine production earlier and much faster Liberators as well. And this threat of a run by here with these Marines is quite nice for Iaguz if there's a probe transfer, but at this point he's just going to try and force Harstem's units to come to this third while he drops into the main with the medevacs.
Now, you know, he's not mining here, and those Adepts obviously are not going to be able to get rid of the medevac easily, so he's going to drop now over here. I think this is actually a great play right now. Good tagging there.
I like this.
Maybe should have not dropped all those Widow Mines right there, but he's going to try to hold this position. Now, there are 2 Oracles out here and a Phoenix, but this is a pretty technical little position that he's got here. Also, the Nexus, for a little while there, was going to act like a bit of a wall there, where the Adept's going to get over there. However, with the pylon cannon, it seems like no matter what, Protoss is going to drive that out.
Yeah, after you get the vision on those Widow Mines, it really is no more strength in the Terran drop, and he's actually getting tagged here by Phoenix. This single Phoenix is doing a lot of damage to the medevacs. 1+ there for Iaguz is that this Liberator is going to go unchecked for a little bit here. No probes there, but he's ready for when they do get there.
And it looks like, those medevacs are going out. Meanwhile, Harstem continuing to upgrade. I like what Iaguz is doing. I think that he's being even more aggressive here. He's trying to do some damage, trying to delay some mining, whether it's at the third base or the second or here in the main, and he's hoping that maybe with a follow-up push, he can actually tip Harstem over.
He got a Stalker kill and a couple probes there for that Liberator. Not super worth it. But at the moment I would say that Harstem's in a pretty good spot still. He's on 3 bases. Iaguz is still on 2. And he's going for some siege tank tech here. A little bit different from the last game where it was just pure biomine. And once again, just Harstem's in that if it ain't broke, don't fix it stage. He's still doing the exact same thing, getting plenty of Adepts up and then getting into that blink tech in the later game. And no doubt getting into that disruptor tech he loves so much as well as we go along.
If he can keep tagging this army, he's just going to have the perfect response every time that Terran tries to move out, and he can just keep monitoring that and then say, go back to his army at home and say, okay, let's balance this out a little bit more so that I can always pretty much beat you in whatever fight we're going to have here. Also, Harstem having even that Phoenix down there patrolling at the bottom of the map to try to intercept drops. I mean, you can see that Harstem has no interest in ending this game in the next few minutes. In fact, he's just planning on getting more ahead.
Exactly.
And I think quickly here, if Iaguz doesn't do much damage, the sand is going to run out of the hourglass. He's not going to have any opportunities in the late game.
These are the days of Iaguz's life. 6 more gateways going down. That's actually a lot of production going to be kicking into gear for the Protoss pretty soon. And I feel like these gateways are all going to be ready by the time Iaguz is across the map, and he's going to be able to warp in more than Iaguz can handle here. There's a stasis ward going down there, just freezing 1 Marine. Iaguz knows that something has to deal with. The Protoss army isn't super huge, but it is about to get 1-1.
Okay, it looks like he just gets out of range of that stasis ward. He's going to shade in here. He may very well cancel with this unless he decides that he absolutely has enough. Terran beginning to push him back, but he wants to force liberation zones and have the tanks drop before they get in range of the base. So you kind of dive at the Terran and then run away again and dive in and run away again. He's continuing to warp in more over here. A scan, and Iaguz is going to attack right now.
Absolutely. He's got a nice little spot here, abusing the terrain here with the siege tanks. The Adepts looking like they may want to shade aggressively here, and they do. They want to target down these siege tanks. They're doing a lot of damage to the Protoss units. The Marines with Stim on the top are actually trading very nicely for Iaguz.
Iaguz is beginning to close in right now. Coming in here, gunning down the 2 pylons of Stalkers.
Oh!
Not much HP left. The Mothership Core could go down as well.
And Iaguz is doing a lot of hurt here. His siege tanks are still shelling away here from this lovely position that he set up for himself. And even with the upgrade advantage, these Stim Marines are pushing Harstem all the way back. He's forced to make Immortals. Immortals suck against Marines. They're there for the siege tanks. And right now, that's resources that aren't gateway units. He's pulled the probes.
Oh,
and
GG! Iaguz takes game number 2, balancing this series out at 1-1. We've got ourselves a series tasteless. What is going on, Maynard? I thought Iaguz was supposed to lose all these games, but he just came in there and dominated Harstem. And look, I think that was the style that he needed to bring out in order to beat a player like Harstem. Like, we know that the longer the game goes on, Harstem's going to be in a good position, but when you have, I think it was 3 tanks in that army, he had the Liberators. Harstem didn't do very much to force liberation zones or anything like that, so he just got in there before all that critical tech could be used, and then he ran Harstem over.
I'm pretty sure we're going to see a replay of the engagement there, the game-defining engagement towards the end on New Gettysburg. And will be interesting to see. I think that, from memory, Harstem was actually very aggressive to try and pick off those Liberators during this attack with that Blink Stalkers, and he actually suffered a lot of damage because of it.
And here's that final battle coming up here. You can see the siege tanks over here at the left side of our screen.
That aggressive blink right there.
Yeah. Well, he actually blinked in, and as he blinked in, all the tank damage was done, and that means the Marines were basically on top of the Stalkers.
Oh, boy.
And there's no way. I mean, once Protoss loses that critical balance of units, it's very hard to scramble and warp in and bring back a viable army when you already know Terran can stem with the Marines and heal. Then with the medevacs, the tanks are in a good spot, the Liberators are in a good spot. It is just a stone throw away from that position to then move in and shut Harstem out of the game. And
I feel like that game showed us exactly what's Iaguz's chance here. We know that Harstem wants to play later game. He wants to get double forge. He wants to have a big army, 4 bases, and he wants to power on to the late game because of how powerful he feels in it and how comfortable he feels in it. And it's up to Iaguz to hit those timings in the early to mid game and just kill him before it becomes a problem.
I wonder what Harstem will do to adjust here, but I guess we're going to find out. Guys, get hyped. This is game number 3, Harstem versus Iaguz.
In the top left, winning the first game, will he win the third? This is Harstem.
We said it was impossible, but it looks like his comeback has begun. Make some noise for our blue Terran, Iaguz!
The Gimli Terran, you have his axe. He's winning over the hearts and minds here in Montreal.
Dude, this was not supposed to happen. I mean, I would, if it was going to be a 3-1, or I really thought it could have been 3-0 here, but this is exciting. I mean, if Iaguz wins here, who knows how far he can go? That would be a huge upset and also a big blow to Harstem, who a lot of people are keeping their eyes on in this tournament.
I feel like Iaguz is going to be a little bit of a tricky Triceratops here. He's cross-spawns. Right. He's on one of the largest maps in the pool. In fact, it is the largest map in the pool. He went gas first, and this generally means that he wants to power up to the mid-tier tech really quickly.
I think you are right, Maynard. And you know what? Now, positions here are not fantastic for that, but let's see what he can do with this, because I think Iaguz has identified he probably doesn't want to go into late game against Harstem. He has to pull the rug out from under him.
I agree.
He has to come in here with an unforeseen blow to rock Harstem in this game, because I think Harstem wants to play a very textbook orthodox Protoss in StarCraft 2 and just deflect everything until he has overwhelming upgrades and tech and then win from there.
I actually love the option that Harstem's been doing in the last 2 games to go for the double Oracle and continually tag the Terran army and have all that information. I'm a player that loves information.
Right.
That, you know, like I like to know all about my opponent. I like to scan. I like to scout all the time. And I just, you know, I don't feel comfort unless I know what my opponent's up to. So,
well, that's what was crazy about that last the last 2 games. Harstem was pretty on top of tagging that army, but it goes to show you, even if you see it coming, if you are good enough at executing an engagement, Iaguz can still turn the game upside down.
We see that we've got a nice quick factory here with Tech Lab from Iaguz and a second base. And Harstem's actually scouted this with his probe as well. Fortunate scout there for Harstem as he gets his first adept out.
Yeah, let's see what what exactly Harstem will send out here and
Same
keep,
build.
because I think we're probably just going to see Oracles and Adepts coming out in what's going to be a pretty standard game. But I mean, Iaguz, if he wanted to, he could win with another attack like we saw there in game 2. If you just get the right angle up and Protoss does not evaluate the situation correctly, that's it.
So we see a Cyclone coming out here for Iaguz. Usually that's a defensive unit. You're like, I feel like my opponent's going to go for a Warp Prism or something like that. This could be something incredibly insane, but I feel like it's just to counter the Oracle that he's expecting blindly from Harstem. He hasn't scattered that Stargate yet.
Great escape there, by the way, by Iaguz. Headed southbound right now. Oracle is on the way.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right, Maynard. I mean, let's see if he can just blind counter the Oracle. This is kind of how you have to play, right? If you're not sure if you're going to be able to beat your opponent, and you're like, okay, what is the best possible, like based off the information he's shown me, how can I best react to maybe even try to hard counter that to get a lead in this best of 5?
Harstem plays like how I'm used to Iaguz playing. I've seen him play so many times. He's the macro guy. He does the one build,
right,
and he just does it so well that even if you see it coming, you just win anyway.
It's like the ladder build. You know, everybody has like a few builds in each match. We're like, well, this is the ladder build. I will do this build 100 times this week.
Right.
So that I like that, but occasionally you got to be careful. If you're in like a best of 5, man, you're playing the same guy over and over again. He can definitely try to react and tailor a build to directly counter what you're trying to do.
So Cyclone and Raven coming here. This is very, very anti what Harstem has coming out for now. This Cyclone's going to lock onto this Oracle. Actually, just missed it.
Okay, I believe Harstem actually saw it back there.
Yeah, he doesn't want to come in here with that Cyclone. Doesn't want none of that. Doesn't want none of that.
Yeah, you don't want none of that, man. He needs to turn around immediately. Now, we see a Raven coming up here. The Cyclone, though, it still does have some utility later on. There's definitely a lot of pretty abusive stuff you can do with the Cyclone, although it definitely takes your entire attention if you're going to pull it off right.
And we see Harstem dropping a Twilight Council with his first Forge there. Will he get a second? We'll see shortly. He is getting his third Nexus as it goes down, and with the Liberators, I kind of feel like Iaguz is trying to hit a timing here with this Raven, like maybe drop some PDDs, cancel the shots of the Stalkers that he knows that Harstem wants to get out.
Dude, I totally agree, actually. I think that's the play.
Yeah,
right?
quite possibly. Yeah.
Especially the combination of a Cyclone and a Raven, the amount of how quickly you can skew the situation for a Protoss who might not have enough room to escape and move the battle somewhere else. You can do a lot of damage. And already here with this
nice.
Reaper.
This is nice. You always feel good when your first Reaper is still alive and you can just pick off a couple probes before it dies and then just, go out with a bang.
Okay, he's going to move out. Yeah. Technical Army coming out here. Now, he might actually withdraw.
It got tagged, tagged by Harstem. Now that Harstem knows it's coming, he can prepare against it, and he has such a long rush distance on Frost to go all the way to the Protoss base that he really needs to either commit or pull back, and it looks like the decision here is just to send the Liberators for now and see what they can get done first.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what you were saying back there, man. If they were in close spots and Iaguz was doing this build, I would feel a lot more confident for him, but it's that distance, right? It's the trek. And it's the possibility of maybe even a few counterattacks from Protoss when that happens, or something to draw your attention away. Now, if this gets up over here, let's also keep in mind he wants to keep these Liberators, alive.
And the pylon's actually just getting up now, so Iaguz is in a lovely spot until that pylon finishes. Phoenix is coming to bully it away. There is a second Liberator, though.
Okay, now unfortunately, I don't know if this Liberator is going to be able to get back home, but he is taking out workers and delaying mining, which means that inevitable timing attack could come in here and still do a lot of damage. And by the way, Protoss is not done pulling these Phoenixes, so he wants to try to get in the face of the Liberators if this inevitable attack does occur.
Harstem's actually committing to a lot of Phoenixes here. He's still producing them, hasn't stopped. So that's plenty. This unit is amazing against Liberators, amazing against Medivacs. It's a good, solid unit to have. Every Protoss back in the day would do the Phoenix. And, it's not really clear what the mid-game decision is going to be here for Iaguz. I'm really keen to see it unfold. And for Harstem as well. I'm such a massive fan of both these players that I feel like I'm spoiled as a, being a fan first and a caster second.
Both these guys are actually two of the most charming pro gamers to talk to in person. So, I'm going to be sad no matter what with who loses and fine with whoever
there can
goes
be
on.
only one.
That's right. There can be only one, man. That's the nature of competition. Always a stressful moment for a pro gamer when that tempo that you have going through the game is hiccuped.
Yeah.
As, we're going to get this sorted out, obviously, guys, in a little bit. But for the time being, these guys are going to have to wait and also, of course, reflect on, what happened in Game 1 and 2 and what's happening here in Game 3. Because Game 3 is going to be super pivotal in this series. It's going to give somebody a lead again.
Yeah, the bad part of this little unfortunate drop here is that there is a momentum stop, but the good part is that this is an incredible mental esport, and you get that little bit of extra breather that you can use this time to, like you said, exactly, reflect, think about what you're on about, and
meditate even. I mean, try to get into into the right zone.
Or if you're Harstem, just change albums to the next boy band.
That's right. He always listens to music while he plays, right?
He does.
Do you do that when you play?
I actually play with the Brood War soundtrack. I find it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the, specifically the Zerg and Terran song from Brood War.
I wasn't as crazy. I mean, I played Protoss and Brood War, but I wasn't crazy. Oh, Kappa. We've got the Kappas over here.
I wonder what Twitch chat's doing right now.
They know what to do.
They know what to do.
I love playing with music, all sorts of whatever music I'm listening to at the time, but I don't feel like I always play as well. With music, like I want to listen to music, but sometimes I don't know if I focus.
You got to find the right balance. You need to make sure that the unit sounds and alerts are much higher than your music, because I've been burned by that before.
I have been burned by that, or I'm like, I didn't know my forces were under attack back here, and oh no, all my probes are gone.
We don't have a game hard interface when we play online.
Time to rage quit. So
40 SCVs can just disappear, and you're like, well, guess that's what just happens.
That's my life. Let's see. It looks like we might have our players putting their headsets back on.
Yeah, I think we're gearing towards things getting fixed up here. We do have a view of the observer computer. It looks like it is still waiting to reconnect.
And we will hopefully be doing that very soon here. Guys, get out there. Tell your friends to join us here at DreamHack. There is a lot on the line for every one of these players. We're closing into BlizzCon eventually.
This is the third and final season of WCS 2016. This is the last opportunity for these guys that don't have enough points to be a top 8 contender.
There are so many moments
where
there's so many moments where each of these players, the pressure is truly on, man.
Absolutely.
So let's see, as we move on each day, each week forward here, we're going to be very close to crowning a world champion, which of course is always, I think, one of the greatest parts of the whole year, at least if you're a StarCraft person.
There's not been a single BlizzCon that I've watched since StarCraft 2 has been released where I haven't had the sickest nerd chills.
Oh, I know. It's so sick.
It's actually not ever...
Especially that stage we had last year.
Oh
my God.
Yes. Yeah. Big leap between, I think it was the 2014 BlizzCon versus like the 2011 BlizzCon.
No, Blizzard definitely had a bit of an upgrade there. So we still have our players conversing. And we're going to see if we can get updated to what the issue is and what the ETA on the resuming of game number 3 will be.
Yeah, well, I mean, it looks like the resuming is going to be happening pretty shortly. It looks like Flo's getting ready over there in the observer booth. Shout out to Flo, by the way, for doing. She's our single observer for the whole event.
Observing is really hard.
You sit in your dungeon, and that is like, you're there, and there's not actually an opportunity for you to do anything other than observe between games.
It's crazy. I mean, you're almost like another pro gamer in there. You're having to follow both their strats and try to show to the casters as well as the viewers what's going to happen and why it's happening. So. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it is indeed.
Shout outs to observers. I don't think they get enough love, actually.
I feel like it's people are starting to love the observers more, especially with Funko finally coming out of his observer dungeon. Yeah. He is actually allowed to be in the lights now. People just discovered that since I Am Shanghai that he's actually an amazing commentator, and I actually wish I was half as talented as he was, being able to observe, also play at a high master's level,
speak multiple languages,
and also commentate in English and French. I'm like, okay, settle down, Funko. Stop taking all the talent out of like the human pool.
Can we talk about it? You see this preview screen here? I think we decided to put me on the wrong side of this table. As my beard, it completely blends in. This is like, there's like, who's that floating head caster that doesn't have a lower jaw? Like, how does he talk? It's lips and the top of his head just floating around in space.
Well, with this background on my shirt, I feel like I'm actually just a floating head with a tie.
We'll switch seats coming up here.
Yeah, we'll just switch. We'll mess with all you guys. So all you people paying attention will just be in different positions next game.
But this is good to be down here casting with you, man. This is
it's actually
fun.
It's a really lovely privilege to be. I've never been to Canada before, and I really have loved my time here. We went out and saw a little bit of Montreal last night.
It's amazing. No, this is my first time in Canada as well. I mean, it is no joke. You guys are way more polite than when I landed LAX for BlizzCon.
Oh boy,
there's a big difference there.
There is.
So this has been great to be down here. We still got to get some poutine.
We have to get poutine. We haven't had poutine yet.
Some poutine passion in the audience there, and I got to say, it's so cool every time we get to travel somewhere and see all these different players playing in different parts of the world. Interestingly enough, I don't know if you knew this, but there was a big Brood War scene in Montreal.
I know,
there were
yeah,
a lot of old school Brood War players.
Montreal and a lot of North America, a good chunk of like, I think the middle and east coast of America had a really good Brood War scene.
Yeah. There were a ton of great players. Okay, now they're, well, that's definitely not a sign that we're starting this right away. I don't know. Game 3 is going to be a race. We're going to make them run to the back of the venue and just, decide it that way. So.
Well, I mean, Apollo brought it up earlier, and we are having a great time this tournament. And yes, we're having an internet problem right now, but let's not take away from the fact that this tournament matters so much for all the players and all the fans out there. This is going to decide pretty much who's going to be at BlizzCon. Like, it actually matters that much. This is the third and final season final of WCS. I know that was probably the worst sentence in the world, but we got there eventually.
That was a good sentence.
And, you can do your hashtags. Apollo brought them up already, but I'll give you a little bit of a reminder. You can hashtag DHOpen.
We're talking to the Twitter army right now.
The Twitter army, all you guys out there, get back on those keyboards.
And I don't know. I hopefully they do get this resolved here.
Oh, they will.
Actually,
you can see the result. The resume's going to happen pretty shortly. I promise.
You're omnipotent, man. You know everything that's going on.
I am just really keen for the next game, and I'm like searching for any sign.
I mean, the fact that Iaguz won in Game 2, I get super stoked about, right? Because it's just like a GSL where, like, a lot of times I'll go into the studio and be like, well, these two guys are going to get out of the groups, right? That just seems to make sense. This is so, like an imbalanced matchup. And then an upset occurs, and I just have to remind myself, like I have to all the time, upsets do happen, and those who are on top do fall sometimes. All right, guys, let's get back. And let's get hyped. This is game number 3.
That's right. Let's get that energy back up there in the crowd for game number 3. We have got Harstem gearing up for that mid-game. And Iaguz moving across the map finally with a little bit of Harstem still just on the ball with his vision. 17 adepts.
He's just tagging very, very well. And it's got to be frustrating. I almost feel like Iaguz might want to split some of his army up a little bit. I mean, it's not like Protoss is going to necessarily attack in. If Terran's 2-base, you can get in all these tech units, right? You definitely don't attack a Terran with siege tanks, a Raven, Liberators, everything else there to destroy you. Yeah. So, I would say he might want to spread this out just so that the tagging is not as convenient. But let's see. He's going to move out here now, a very important moment. Let's see how exactly Harstem deals with this very important timing push here.
He's going to skirt the vision here of the Zelnanga Watchtower, but not the top one. Harstem has map vision, and he sees that Iaguz is moving across the map. He needs to send his adepts down here. He's dropping some stasis wards. These could be very critical here. We'll see how this unfolds.
Okay, he does tag it. This map is booby-trapped, and the Cyclone right now has been slowed down. The adepts are shading forward. Does Protoss have too much?
I think he's got a nice concave here, Tasteless. There's so many adepts clustering in here on the siege tanks, and this is a big engagement here. The Liberators in the sky doing a lot of damage to the ground, but so many adepts are clearing out all the bio of Iaguz, and I think that the Terran just completely gets deflected.
Yeah, I don't believe Protoss has anti-air, though, here. I think there's still 2 Liberators, which kind of makes this a bit of a funky-looking engage. He's have to make a few more units, but you're right, the core of the Terran army was deflected here, and we can see now that Phoenix is going to then engage that Liberator, and the problem for Terran is his tech to some extent was reset.
Yeah, he has been macroing the whole time, and he is starting to get his numbers out again, but his army right now is nowhere near as strong as it was when he moved out into the middle of the map and Harstem cleaned it up. And we again are in a situation where Iaguz is on 2 base. There is no third CC here. And Harstem's on 3 Nexus, and the longer this game goes, the better it is for the Protoss.
Sometimes when you're in a position like this, the only option that Terran really has is to do another second big attack, because if you take a third base of your own, Protoss then comes in and smashes it. But the odds are not looking very good, at least for Iaguz here in game number 3.
He's going to try and get a Ghost Academy out, which obviously is going to be pretty amazing for engaging Protoss units. You get those EMPs out,
right?
You can blanket them, take out half of their hit points, but getting rid of their shields, or most of the time it's half their hit points, especially if they're gateway units. These adepts, when they're blanketed with the EMP, you can actually engage it directly with this bio ball. Just stimming a few Marines here, picking off that one adept, taking a bit of the map away from Harstem, which is good because map vision and information is how Harstem's been winning his game so far.
Okay, Harstem is probably just going to stay back and eventually get a third base. I think he knows that all he has to do is wait for Iaguz to do one of 2 things, either attack again or take a third base. Until then, it's really the Terran's problem to figure out what to do in this game.
It is, yeah. He's got a tough nut to crack here. Liberator is starting to get pumped out. He hasn't lost any medevacs just yet since that engagement, so he's able to just concentrate on pumping out Liberators, which is very, very important. Starting to dust in some Marauders with those Marines, as well as getting that siege tank count back up. So he's starting to look pretty good with the units again.
He is actually moving out here with these medevacs. He's going to try to do that second attack, closing in into the upper left. Now there should be some stasis wards laid out here already, but also remember that there are a lot of adepts here. If he gets a good shade in on top of this and can do that without being under the liberation zone, this is still going to be very, very tricky for Terran to handle.
I feel like if he had a few more ghosts, I'd feel a lot better for Iaguz here.
Right.
He does have one at the back here. It's going to have to be a money MP on all of those adepts.
He's coming in right now. The liberation zones are in a good position. Now the adepts could proceed to shade in over here right in front of the tanks. Some more Marines coming up over here, but it seems there's just too much on the ground.
That's right, too much Protoss on the dance floor. The tank dropped and killed immediately, and that's GG! Harstem gets a lead in the series again, 2-1.
Well, I appreciate what Iaguz was trying to do, but you can see that Harstem is just one of these players who knows how to adapt.
Yeah, he does indeed. Harstem knows the series isn't over, right? This is a best of 5. Yeah, just
yeah.
He just runs out the stage like, yeah.
I did it. Time to go to the interview with Smix. So we're going to be going to game number 4 here shortly.
Yeah, looks like he's actually going to go for a bathroom break real quick.
Yeah, understandably so.
I mean, it doesn't seem like that when you watch him play, but he is actually a human being.
He is a human being. Or is he? I mean, his adept play was pretty good, Maynard. I don't know. No, seriously, I think he's going to go on that short break, come back in here, and we'll go to game 4. Now, Iaguz is not in a good spot. He's trying to win with these 2-base timing attacks, and it's just not doing the damage. I don't think he can do this again. He might have to do something more all-in, or just become better at macro.
Just get good.
Just get good, son. Because otherwise, I just don't foresee, this going all the way to game 5 and Iaguz eventually comes out on top.
Yeah, I think your prediction of 3-1 is probably going to be accurate here, but that said, though...
should we say your prediction of 3-1, because you predicted the same of me. I think we might both be very right, Maynard.
I think we might be. But you know what? If you can win a map, you can win a series. I'm a big believer of that. And I guess, like I said, he used to be that one build guy, but he's not anymore. He definitely has the opportunity and definitely the repertoire to be able to throw out something different against Harstem. And if he's saving anything in his utility belt of Terran builds,
that's right.
He needs to whip it out.
It
now.
is bat belt
the
right
Harstem
now.
spray or something like that. Like
the Harstem spray.
he needs to pull out something really sick here.
His Harstem cattle trops he'll throw out to stop Harstem's adepts from getting to him. We got this last attack over here. I almost acted like I was supposed to cast this again. Here's the attack.
Oh my God! Oh gee, Terran, they're now in game number 4, and I don't know if the Protoss can be stopped.
But that was obviously the game-ending engagement there. Iaguz taps out in seconds, gets completely crushed in the middle of the map there. And the EMPs were there, but the adepts weren't covered by the EMPs. It was kind of the back units like the Immortals and the Sentries at the back there.
I feel like that battle was important, but the one before it was actually
Probably
more important because
yeah.
that's the one that really the game's hinged on. You can't blame the pro gamer for trying to do one more attack behind that in case Protoss gets lazy or doesn't have the right unit composition or just has a bad engagement. Really, that's that first attack where you have your Liberators, you have the tank set up, you have that critical number of Marines along with the stim and everything else, and you're hoping to disarm the Protoss, and it didn't work. So I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen here in game 4, but...
Well, I'm glad it's not up to me, because I would just be like, people would come up to me and ask, what is your option here in game 4, Maynard, against this complete beast that crushes your race regularly?
Right.
Like
and
he
you
actually
would
eats
turn to them
Terrans
and
for
say,
breakfast.
I'm going to become a StarCraft caster of this series, is what you'd say.
And that's a conversation I had back in 2011.
That's right. Okay, I believe we have Harstem. Yep, he's back out over there. And he is...
looking more jacked than ever.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
He is, he's a sharp-looking fellow, Maynard.
He is. He's a very sharp fellow. I'm sure he does great with the ladies.
I'm sure he does, man. All right, he's getting his music back in his ears, and we're going to go into Game 4. If you're just now joining us, Iaguz has 1 win to Harstem's 2.
That's right. Harstem is on match point, and that's obviously not a good feeling to know that you need to win 2 versus someone that's really quite favored against you, and in every game that we've seen, he has been the better player to a point.
Well, it just seems like Iaguz does not have a plan for late game. If you're going to do that, you better be really good with your timings in the mid game or the early game. Maybe do a cheese. It's hard to say. Harstem just, and you always see this when you have like really solid StarCraft players, is they're just fine letting the game go on for like a half hour. They're like, okay, the longer this goes on, the more developed my upgrades in tech are, the better spot I'm going to be in.
Like your better players, like your innovations, even your flashes back in Blue War, they want the longer game. They're not actually afraid of it at all.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
So,
and Iaguz generally has been that guy. Like back at home when he will play in his series, he will be the guy that will be happy to play the late game. He will play a late game TVZ. He'll play a late game TVP. He'll play a late game any matchup. He'd be happy with it. But he's on the world stage now, not just in Australia playing against other Australians. This is a tough game, and we are getting right into it, guys.
This is game number 4. Over here in the upper left, in the red, give it up for Harstem!
And if you like beards, Australians, and Terrans, send your spirit energy to this guy in the bottom right here. This is Iaguz. He's going to need all the energy there from the Terran fans in the crowd to get this one sorted out. It is a tough mountain to climb.
This is one of our skinnier maps here.
Yeah, this is Apotheosis.
Yep.
Gas first again from Iaguz, so going to get into possibly the 1-1-1 or just the quicker power up tech.
When you're on a map that's more narrow like this, it's a little bit trickier to try to go around stuff. You just physically have less room. But let's see. I wouldn't be surprised if he does do a 1-1-1 or something like that. I think that's his best bet.
I think that this actually is probably the best map that Iaguz has had so far to play against Harstem. Like New Gettysburg's tough. Frozen Temple's usually pretty nice, but Harstem obviously did a good job there. And this one's going to be a map that's going to play to his playstyle or what he's going for here. I think this is a good map for what he's choosing.
You can see Harstem actually sending a probe out right away. I mean, I think this is smart. I mean, I believe this is a little bit earlier than his other scouts, if I am correct.
You could be quite right.
I believe he scouted a little bit later, but this would make sense if he has just one game where he basically doesn't have to be caught off guard, and he knows that if he factors in everything else that he knows about Iaguz and about his own play style, he should be okay. So he's just coming here to check and see, is there anything suspicious going on so far?
Well, he's perfectly aware that this is Reaper Expand here. He sees the gas. He knows how much that Iaguz has mined so far in this game. And this is kind of the build that I like to do in TVP. I like to get my quick factories out and quick starports and go for the drop play. And I always like to Reaper Expand. Like I said, I like to have information, and I feel like the Reaper gives me that security blanket. It's my blankie.
It's your blankie.
It's my blankie having that Reaper.
It's your Baba.
It's my Babas. It makes me feel safe.
I always feel more comfortable just doing an early scout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I just want to know, right? I mean, there are some players who are just like really, especially some of the Korean players are really okay with not scouting for a long time. But let's see.
He sees a Stargate. It's a nice scout there with that SCV.
Yeah, he gets in and he'll be able to get right back out. One thing about whenever you do go for drops, if that's what we're going to see this time around, is that dropping can kind of act like a double-edged sword, right? You can get in there and maybe get some kills and not have to trade any of your units, pick up and get back out. But the opposite can happen. You can lose the medevac, you can lose everything inside of it, and then the Protoss hasn't really had to sacrifice anything. So a lot of times drop play can either get you in a lead or get you way behind.
This is interesting here from Iaguz. The Tech Lab's going down there on the barracks, and I think we may see a switch to get a Cyclone out because he does know he has to be out against Oracle. Conversely, he could just let the Oracle finish and keep on with his game plan, which is going to be Hellion run by here, or possibly even Hellion drop with the Starport finishing up.
Yeah, let's see how this actually turns out. I believe.
Wow.
Oh yeah, double. Widowmine. Look at this.
Did not expect this. Okay, so he's just making 2 Hellions and switching over to the Widowmines. The Widowmines, I feel, are the option for the Oracle. If it shows up in time, can be loaded into the medevac for probe damage as well. Obviously, that's going to be the main purpose here.
Well, I think actually, if he tries to assassinate the Oracle, that's super smart. Because Harstem, this is one thing where he has not mixed it up. He's going for an Oracle every time. And the 2 Hellions could be misleading to make you think that there's going to be 4 Hellions later on. So let's see how this actually works. I really like this.
Well, the Hellions did absolutely nothing. This Reaper here gets a probe.
I got to say, I actually thought he was going to poke in and immediately leave with the Hellions. I thought that was the function of the strategy, was to show them as a red herring and what the build was, and then to get away. And now he's going to take the gold base.
Again, Harstem doing the same thing. Oracles into a really quick third Nexus. he's so confident and so comfortable, and I haven't seen any signs for him to not be confident and comfortable with what he's doing in this entire series. Iaguz
Wait, is there a Widowmine right here?
Yeah, he is trying to...
I don't believe I see one here, but I don't... Has he actually ran into this at all? Okay, he's coming in here now.
Yeah. A little bit of energy left on that Oracle there.
Oh, he's so close to this one Widowmine, but he's just not going over it just yet.
They're actually both burrowed there next to the factory.
Yeah.
Yeah, could not be in a more obvious spot there. Unfortunately, I mean, you can do tricky things like hide behind the gas and, you know, like that sort of thing.
Some buildings, because it is 3D, the game is that you're kind of just angled at this way that you might not see this. Now, having the gold base, by the way, guys, means Iaguz is going to have to do an attack very quickly here, or this game is not going to turn out as a Terran win.
Even more so than the other two games, it being gold and all. This is more income, more minerals per trip there for the probes. And Harstem already knows that a Widowmine drop is coming, and he's got that Oracle ready to pick off the mines. He doesn't have a ton of energy, though.
That's right. He does not actually have that much. He's going to try to do some damage. Wait, quick question. Does Terran actually see the gold base for sure? We can get a vision. Okay, he does not actually know about that, which is...
I think he can safely assume it, though, considering Harstem's done the same thing every game.
Uh-oh. He's going to come over here. He sees this, and that's going to force him to turn this around completely. Now, there it is, the Liberator, driving the probes away. This is not the quickest distance to the other base, so interrupting the mining here is pretty huge, but he's going to have to pick up and pull back out because Phoenixes are going to be a real threat on this map. Yeah,
again, the Phoenixes are being created off those first two Oracles to deal with medevac drops, to deal with the Liberators, and that's really everything that Terran tries to do at this point in the game. Harstem just really has a counter for everything that Iaguz tries to do for the first 6 minutes of the game. He's doing a really good job of it again in game number 4 here.
Every minute that passes is going to be more money to the coffers of Harstem. And here goes that drop!
Oh, that's a huge connection there when they lined up. I was fearing for the Dutch Protoss here. That's a huge amount of damage. This Liberator's getting more done here. What is happening? Harstem didn't react in time for that mine drop.
Now,
paid the price.
9 kills, very nicely done. However, it's Protoss on 3 Nexi, so he can make a lot more probes.
He still has more workers than the Terran.
Yeah. It's
kind of just even the score there, but that said, he's getting his 3rd CC up.
I think a general rule, if you want to think about this in a certain way, is that you can't really just harass a gold base. You have to deny it. You have to stop it, because just delaying the probes there for a little bit, it doesn't matter. If the probes mine from this at all, you're just getting way more in return than you would be if it was just a mineral only. And this is blue mineral base.
And this is something we haven't seen since Frozen Temple, and that's a 3rd CC from Iaguz. So he's going to try and play the later game here as well. And there's some Marines getting tagged again by those pesky Oracles.
The Marines are headed northbound right now. Now, he may be expanding, and he's going to try to harass in different locations into the Phoenix. This medevac does go.
And I think it's already boosted as well. He's on cooldown right now.
So he's going to... Okay, there it is.
Uh-oh. Oh! Taken out by that overcharge, and that's a big investment there from Iaguz. Just an energy spent there for Harstem for a couple overcharges. Definitely worth it. Does an amazing job cleaning that up. And that's one less threat here. That was the multi-prong, the 1-2 punch there from Iaguz. And he sees this army with a really good number of adepts.
Oh, wow.
He can engage this completely.
Well, this is the problem, is that Protoss had the gold base for long enough. He just has more stuff at this point in time. Even though we have Terran trying to expand as well over here. Already the fruits have been reaped from that additional base. He's actually managed to get a much bigger army, and now he can actually start to try to put pressure on this Terran's expand.
And Iaguz is trying to get an armory up here. Try and get up for the later tech for his tier 2 upgrades. He's on +1 attack right now, so is Harstem. And the more important thing is that he has resonating glaze, which means his adepts are shooting faster and doing a lot more damage to the bio every time that they volley. And yeah, I mean, he's going to try and get across the map again, but look at the presence here. Harstem right in his face, Harstem again with map vision and map control, and Iaguz pinned back into his 3rd.
Great tag there on the command center and the rest of that army. And he will probably just turn around from here and continue to mass up. There's also the possibility that Harstem actually goes for a 4th base.
Yeah, absolutely. He loves to have that econ lead. Looks like he's going to get that War Prism loaded up, probably get some depth up into there and put some Hayras on. It's always a good choice.
Some Hayras.
Some Hayras.
Some Hayras.
That's right. And we got the Colossus Den, or actually we call the Disruptor Den now. Getting made right there at the top. For Harstem. And this is actually a unit that's so scary for Iaguz because it's something that he really wants to kill Harstem before it actually enters the field. This is a tough one to deal with.
Okay, this is really just going to be a thorn in the paw of the Terran if he continues to come down here. Now, there's a serious push coming up here. Let's see if Protoss is fully equipped. He is getting some disruptors to come out here. Actually, this would be a good snipe to get the SCV making that would-be fourth expand here.
Oh, and the warp in there of the Adepts is the committal for this harassment. The Liberators probably will kill this Warp Prism, but the Adepts are doing the damage here. Not only did he scout that fourth, he knows all about it. He's doing damage to the SCVs, killing more SCVs, and Iaguz hasn't cleaned this up just yet. The Liberators are chasing the Warp Prism. SCVs are fighting these upgraded Adepts here. Iaguz concentrating on the main force here, which is this attack towards the third of Harstem, and just using whatever rallies out of the base to try and clean this up, but he's lost 26 SCVs, Tasteless.
He's going to come in here right now. He's hitting the gold base, and Protoss does not have an ideal angle. The Adepts are shading forward. We have the disruptor shot coming out and taking out a good amount of the units. Terran is forced to turn around.
Nice mine hits there for Iaguz. Cleans up a lot of the Adepts here. He's actually pressing the issue, Tasteless. He's going towards and clearing out this gold base for now. Possibly going to be a kill. And GG! Iaguz chuckling in his booth. He's tied the series. Both players on match point. We're going to game 5.
What is happening? I can't believe my eyes. It's 2-2 tied up. The pressure is on. Harstem had a gold base back there.
So did Iaguz.
And he just was not able to actually get that benefit from that and keep that in that last game. I will say that angle that we saw Iaguz attack in, Protoss was moving his units through like almost a funnel. He was not able to get that spread.
The Adepts were shading to become a nice concave, but before they shaded, he was actually, you're exactly right, funneling very tightly, one unit at a time. The ants go marching 2 by 2 into stim bio, it doesn't work out, and they got picked off one at a time. Oh, and that mine hit, of course, Clint sealed the deal for that engagement.
Very important, and there wasn't enough there to actually put the pressure on the Liberators either, which of course, a lot of times Protoss, it seems like they're winning the ground fight, and then you look above those Adepts and you say, wait a minute, there's no way that he can hold this territory for the time being. Very impressive attack there from Iaguz. Honestly, Iaguz could take this at this point in time. If it's 2-2, they seem to be evenly matched. This is anybody's game.
This was a lovely, this kind of evened the field for Iaguz. He was down quite a bit in econ at that point. The game-ending engagement. Now, Iaguz has lost his entire economy pretty much back at home, but he's all in here and he's cleaned up the Protoss army. And the reason why there was a tap out there is that Harstem didn't have enough to be able to make what he needed to stop what was here for the Terran. Look at all those Liberators in the sky. There's not enough Stalkers, not enough on the ground to pick them off, and that was the GG.
And you also saw there was a fourth base on the minimap to the left of that gold base, and that was also inaccessible. And the fact that Protoss lost, or would have lost that gold base, meant that then Terran is just sitting on too much money. Gold bases really do accelerate an advantage pretty quickly, really forcing their players to not play a lukewarm game there, but instead they have to commit, they have to engage, and they got to make it work. And that's what Iaguz did back there.
And I agree with what you said during that game, that you have to kill that gold nexus, that gold base, whatever it is. You need to kill that gold because yours needs to go up and you need to keep it up. Forget that thought. Let's get into the game-deciding match, guys. Make some noise here. Who is going to win this one? Will it be the Dutch Protoss Harstem?
So many players and spectators, and this gamer included, did not think he would be able to get to 2-2 so far. It's now down to one last game. Give it up for Iaguz!
Oh, he is winning the crowd here in beautiful Montreal. I feel like he's starting to get a few people on his side. It's a bit of a fairy tale here for the Australian Terran. If he wins this series, then it's going to be a day full of upsets. Showtime going down to Hero Marine. And Hydra already out of the tournament as well.
This could be the butterfly effect, Maynard.
Oh my
this could be one of those moments like we went back in time and then this player lost to that guy. And then that changed everything. And then it caused a hurricane over there and time was different. This might be the beginning of that right now, man.
And then Australia becomes the BlizzCon champion. The literal dream.
The literal dream, right?
For at least one of our commentators.
That's right. Hey, I'd be okay with that too. That would be a difference in what we're used to seeing down here. And going into this game, Let's see what Iaguz does. He's clearly got some good mid-game pushes. He's clearly able to break the Protoss, even when Protoss is tagging the Army Maynard every time.
Exactly. He's just waiting for the tag to wear out and just hitting him. Like he's like, yeah, I know that you know that I know, and I'm just going to go and do it anyway. But that game 4 though, it was so close to being either player's games in their last engagement. Actually, if that engagement went slightly better for Harstem, maybe if he didn't connect with those Widow Mines, it would have actually been completely different.
A lot of that was also down to the formation back there. Yeah. I feel like Harstem could have had a different bet. I'm not saying he would have won the game, but you definitely saw like a lot of Stalkers just eating Marauder bullets as he's trying to get the rest of the Adepts over here and trying to hit his other Stalkers in the back so they can fight the Liberators. Like everything went wrong at once.
That's right. Unfortunate for Harstem. That's I almost call it, well played and also parts lucky break for Iaguz there in that 4th game with that final engagement. But of course, game 2 looked incredibly clean when he hit that timing and took a map away from Harstem then. We'll see if game 5 is going to be similar here. And once again, so far so good. Harstem is getting that Stargate tech up.
All right, I think we can just assume he's going to get Oracles here.
Yeah, fast dead Nexus. It's a good build.
Harstem kind of doing that almost ladder build style of play. When you're playing against different people all the time on the ladder, it's okay if you're doing just like one build. Maybe you have to have another build, on a different map, but you got to be careful in a best of 5. That's why we normally have the players play each other in multiple games in any kind of serious tournament, because it gives you the opportunity to use different strategies to try to play one way to get them used to that style of play, then to mix it up. And this could be a game where Iaguz has downloaded his opponent and is going to react perfectly.
Is he going to go infiltration and download his opponent?
He might be, man. It's happened in StarCraft before.
It
sometimes you can play against somebody and lose 1 or 2 games, and you're like, okay, I know what you're doing. Let's play 100 more games and you win every game.
Nerd.
That's right. Enough with your shenanigans. I'm going to make these few adjustments and then take you out.
But Harstem's play, like the way that he plays PvT, this build and this opening and using those oracles seems so hard to counter. I see these double oracles consistently tagging the army, and I'm like, what do you do? And I'm watching Iaguz do it. Like, I'm watching him win games, and I still feel like I'm missing a part of the code in the matrix here to find out exactly what he does to circumnavigate what Harstem has.
Well, I think Harstem is playing a super safe way to approach the game. He just tags and he reacts. But yeah, in the last game, he just didn't have the right positioning with his units, and I mean, that sometimes is the entire game right there. Now, he's getting Phoenixes. I'm assuming this is to preempt, for instance, Liberators, which I think we just know are going to be in the game. Also to maybe grab Widow Mines.
This is a lovely little fast drop here from Iaguz. He's touching up this 3rd Nexus. He can definitely engage these Adepts, but once the Oracle comes down, it's going to make it a little bit tougher. So yeah, pulls that back there. Does do a little bit of shield damage to the Nexus, but nothing major to write home about.
So he's going to get these 3 Widow Mines, actually, to come in here. Now, let's see where he decides to attack. And we saw, I think it was actually game 3, where he dropped all 3 Widow Mines in one location, which I don't think is worth it because you get tagged by the Oracle.
Yeah.
And then the Widow Mines don't get out.
Yeah, we definitely saw that happen. I think that actually happened in game 2, the game
I'm sorry, that was game 2, you're right.
Yeah, I think that definitely happened. I think it was on New Gettysburg, from memory. My head's spinning, man. I'm like so excited about this series and the fact that we're in game 5.
Well,
and this is
I actually thought this was going to be a one-sided series, and it's not. Yeah, so that's pretty sick. Oh. Okay, he's on the run. Now he's dropping these right here. But
this is actually could connect with the Phoenixes here. Oh, he does get one and severely damages one other, but these the Marines here are really what he needs to deal with. Doesn't want to lose probes to those.
Okay, I got to say, that was super ballsy to actually drop over there, considering that our Phoenix is coming right over there to get that.
He was going to lose it anyway, so might as well.
So he's going to come out now. We're going to see the Liberator, I believe, come into action just a little bit. Stim on the way, as well as +1 attack.
Gearing up for a 3rd CC. He's oversaturated quite a lot in the natural there. 3rd CC is just about to finish, so his econ's going to look. His econ, sorry, is going to look pretty. I nearly said like Egon. I'm thinking about Ghostbusters for some reason, but
don't cross the beams, Egon.
That's right.
We gotta see though, for real, what the play is going to be here in the mid game for Iaguz. I mean, is he going to have that right engage? Is Harstem going to be able to keep his cool back here?
Yeah, and cool is definitely how Harstem's been looking this series. And Iaguz has actually been looking pretty good as well. Like in between games, he's chuckling, he's laughing. He's actually just having a great time playing StarCraft here.
Well, let me tell you something, man. This is a huge confidence booster. I mean, Harstem is one of the scarier players globally. So to have him, really have to bring out his A game here against Iaguz, he might even lose to Iaguz. That would be something else.
Exactly, and he is the favorite, so it's going to be a surprise loss if he goes down and a surprise win for Iaguz. He has nothing to lose and everything to gain here. There's patrolling Phoenix, making things a little bit tough if Iaguz wants to drop in that path. He's actually got a nice coverage here of patrolling Phoenixes.
Well, I think he just knows if he can try to stop all the drops before they get to him, he should be in okay shape. As the game proceeds onward here.
So defensive.
Yeah, we're getting the Robo out here. Terran is gearing up to push out here. There is Stim in the game. There is Medivacs along with Liberators and some mines. A tag that was actually pretty lackluster, by the way.
I mean, he tags the Medivacs and he will actually see the bio when it comes underneath it, but the thing is he tagged it in the middle of the map. That means it's already here, Harstem, and he has to react to it immediately instead of having that whole rush distance to deal with it. And Iaguz is dropping those mines and pressuring a little bit with these Marines. He hasn't got a huge army, but these Liberators are definitely going to make it tough.
Okay, he's trying to get into position now.
I love this Mines position.
Protoss is not in a bad spot, though, so far. But yeah, the Mines position is pretty good. He's going to step forward. He does drive Protoss back just slightly, activating that pylon cannon over here. He's going to try to shave off these 3 or now 2 remaining mines.
Oh, lovely hit there with that mine, touching up a lot of these Adepts. The Adepts are the scary unit here. He can definitely deal with the Stalkers. Well, actually, that's a lot of Stalkers. Maybe never mind. Harstem has too much here. Iaguz correctly identifies that and pulls out. If in doubt, pull out.
It was actually, I think, the bad Liberator position there. If you noticed, it was like not quite forward enough on the mine.
He was getting a little bit fresh with that Liberator. I really wanted to pressure there and get more done with that attack, and the Liberator gives his units the safety, like a little zone for him to sit in. That's a much better tag there, seeing a lot of the army there of Iaguz. Pretty much all of it,
for
actually.
those of you guys learning at home, this is like a really good way to play Protoss, is to continuously tag and then react. You're almost playing a little bit like your Zerg.
Yeah.
Like instead of having overlords everywhere or having a ling or 2 out there to see them leave, you just keep tagging and tagging and just trying to read what their unit comp is and trying to make your unit comp counter theirs, as well as being able to get into a position wherever they're coming from so that you got to better engage.
Yeah, if you're learning to play, like, it's going to be something that's very, very handy to basically have consistent information, but it's going to actually multitask. It's something that, you know, really good players can continually do all game because they can control the Oracles while controlling defenses, while patrolling Phoenixes. And actually, a big tag there on the army of Iaguz again.
This was a questionable drop here, since there is no probes mining here besides that one that he does get. That was as good as he could have gotten back there, at least getting the one probe.
A cluster of probes, obviously what he's looking for there, but didn't get it. Nice defense there from Harstem. Huge tag on the army. That's pretty much the entire army of Iaguz.
We don't have a 4th base yet here for Iaguz, so he's either going to have to take a 4th very soon or have a very good attack coming up here. I got to say, though, this army is looking pretty scary. Liberation zones are set up. Yeah, so the Protoss can't go any further. Sorry, go ahead.
The clock is definitely ticking here for Iaguz. He needs to get something done. He needs to take out a Nexus. He needs to get a huge cluster of probes or just trade incredibly against this army to come back here. He's definitely behind in pretty much every single way that I can think.
All right, he's going to try to come forward, just staying out of range of that Widow Mine. Iaguz wary of being too close to this Protoss army. He knows if he loses this army, he's probably going to lose the game, but he still might be able to get in there and do some damage. Right now, supplies for both players even. It's 188, or excuse me, 190 to what, 189. So they're reaching that max out point.
Yeah, Harstem doesn't have the army supply advantage, but he has upgrade advantage and also a worker advantage there, so that's where the supply discrepancy comes. And I really prefer Harstem's position, having less army, but having a heavier hitting army with units like the Disruptor. I feel like a lot more comfortable being the Protoss at this point, especially taking the high ground away from the Terran. The Terran's first to stim up here, and he's in a funnel, and these Disruptors are going to be very, very dangerous if he wants to get too close.
Okay, Iaguz, knowing that his tournament life is on the line in this game, decides better to fight another day, backs up. Meanwhile, we have Widow Mines coming out, as well as drops going for the probes, but first and foremost, Terran must hold off this Protoss attack.
Exactly. He's going to try and hold while getting drops done here, but it doesn't look like it's going to be effective at all. Hitting one Phoenix, not what he wanted at all there. He wanted probe kills.
All right, Protoss is really beginning to put the pressure on. We're still waiting for these drops to see if they're going to do any damage here. Another tag on that army, a scan. He sees that Protoss is actually beginning to back out, rotating around, possibly going into this base right over here. Can he get a good angle?
It's going to be a nice concave here from Iaguz. He might go for a sandwich here, but he needs to spring this trap pretty early. The Liberator's getting a nice position. The Disruptor's actually connecting with a couple more units there.
I think actually Harstem might be a little bit crazier. I don't think he should actually be attacking over here. He's blinking away. Disruptors are coming out!
Oh, that Disruptor hit was huge. He caught a lot of the bio there. And another Disruptor bolt coming in. Iaguz trying to split. His units are starting to dwindle out, though. I think this might be too much from Harstem. Yes, it is going to be way too much here for the Dutch Protoss. He's pressuring Iaguz back. And I feel like this might be it for the Australian Terran. These Liberators, once they're dealt with, Iaguz, He just doesn't have an answer anymore.
He's getting too close to the Terran's base. Terran hanging on by a thread right now. Liberation zones are set up. Protoss still with complete and total map control.
Double the army supply, 20 worker advantage, and an extra base. How does Iaguz come back from this point? There are even Tempests on the way for Harstem. Another disruptor hit, not connecting amazingly. The second one not so great either, but doesn't even matter. He just defensively blinks here, and he absolutely can. There is way too much here from Harstem, Tasteless.
He's coming in a little bit further now. It looks like he's close to cracking the Terran entirely. More Stalker reinforcements come in, and GG! Harstem has done it, but it was no easy feat. Barely defeating Iaguz in a 3-2.
And he feels really good about that one. That was probably a lot closer than he expected, or a lot of us expected. Make some noise for Harstem. What a great series from the Dutch Protoss. And also, do not forget to send your love to this bloke here, Iaguz, putting up a great series there in the first round.
What a fantastic series that we had back there. I got to say, I'm very impressed with Iaguz, and we were talking about this a little bit early on, but I mean, the more experience you have going to tournaments, playing in more matches, eventually the better results that you can actually deliver. And even though Iaguz was eliminated, I would definitely say he did a fantastic job here in this DreamHack.
He was winning fans in Montreal. He was winning fans when he beat Huck on stage in tours. And I feel like if he keeps playing StarCraft, he's going to have a glowing career ahead of him.
That's right. Of course, Harstem is going to continue on. His story is only just beginning of this event, but every match that he has to play further on is going to be tougher than the one before.
That's how tournaments work, yeah. So it's a
that's right. It's a bracket Tasteless. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
But no, look. I mean, I'm super excited to see how far Harstem can go. I wonder if that whole series is going to be indicative of a struggle for Harstem to get deep into this, because a lot of people, myself and you included, were saying like Harstem should win this pretty handily. It was not the case.
Yeah, and I'm very, very glad it was a struggle. I love a close series. Nothing excites me more than a close series of StarCraft 2.
So this was a little crazier by Harstem. He was actually coming into this angle that was like, it looked a little bit dicey, but the truth is he just had such a superior army. And especially when the Marine Marauders came on the bridge, that's where the Disruptors, it becomes easy peasy to do just a ton of damage down there.
And also +2's not done for the Terran either, and Harstem has that upgrade advantage. Like I said, when he came into this engagement, he had stronger army, he had a higher tech army, he had those Disruptors, and it's a tough engagement to deal with. But
it absolutely is. But what a great series. Smix, how is Harstem doing after defeating Iaguz 3-2?
Well, Nick, let's find out, because we do have him right here. So, Harstem, first of all, congratulations. You are on towards the top 16. I can tell that this was a very emotional victory for you. From the moment that you came out of the booth, from here, being on the couch as you're preparing for this interview, I can tell that you're a lot of emotions going through right now. So, can you just tell us what's going through your head?
Well, I'm pretty happy, obviously, that I won, but my condition hasn't been the best. My travel was pretty bad. I didn't have any clothes because they lost my luggage as well. So the preparation has been pretty subpar, and my PvT isn't really as good as it has been. So I was actually pretty nervous for this match. So yeah, edging it out like this was pretty fortunate, and I'm pretty happy about it.
Well, I know, as you mentioned, sometimes travel issues do happen, but despite that, I know that once you saw the bracket, I'm sure that you've been preparing ever since you knew that he was your opponent. So coming into this match, despite all these other sort of outside conditions affecting you, how did you prepare in terms of his game style? Did you study his VODs? Is there something specific that you were looking forward to facing?
I checked his VODs, and I pretty much knew every game what build he was going to do just by seeing the opener. But I'm a bit of an Oracle player myself, and I think if you try to defend aggressive stuff with Oracles, you need to be very on point, and I don't think I was on point at all today. Especially game number 2, I think, was one of the worst defenses we've seen in the past year, by any TOS in general. So yeah, I feel like if I get everything right when I play my own style, it shouldn't really be as much trouble as it was now.
Okay.
You know, I was wondering, you said that your PvT is maybe not the same level that you're used to, because you're normally known as one of the best Terran killers in Europe, but you're using a style we don't see from as many top Protosses now, you know, going into Disruptors. Can you speak to that a little bit? Are you really comfortable with the Disruptors? Could this have something to do with how you feel you're doing?
I feel very comfortable with Disruptor. Like I said, if I play very well, I think my style is really, really good. But it's really easy to mess up. Even in the last fight I had now, I miscontrolled a bit, lost 2 Disruptors for free, and you can't really lose any of the gas units because then your build's completely messed up. So it might not have been actually the best style to play in this series because I knew I wasn't playing at 100%.
Is that style where you have to play at 100%? Like, do you think that's enough to carry you through? Because, you know, you're one of these guys that could, at this event, lock in a BlizzCon, but there's a lot of great Terrans that are doing very well. We've already seen some upsets with, for instance, Showtime going down. Can you actually carry yourself through with this kind of like exacting style of opening Oracle and going into Disruptor later?
Well, I don't want to say too much, but I obviously have some other stuff prepared as well. But for this match, I thought Oracle was going to do, but I almost was wrong.
I want to speak to the moment right after the 4th game. Obviously, that was a loss for you. And the camera panned to you right after when the score became 2-2, and you expressed a curse. We saw you get very emotional. I don't think I need to say what word it was, but you were clearly very, very upset. So I'm just wondering, in that moment, were you just thinking about a mistake you had made, or just feeling like maybe the score shouldn't even have been 2-2, or what was going through your head?
I think that was a really, really awful game by me. Like, I don't think I was doing too poor in the game itself. I had the drop in the base. I did some damage with the depth harass, and all I really needed to do was stop his push a little bit. But then I lost the mothership core basically for free. I only had 1 overcharge, and my army was completely out of position. So I really, I just messed up the fight completely. And Apotheosis is a really, really good Protoss map. So I felt like if I can't even win Apotheosis, then Galactic Process is going to be really, really difficult.
Well, luckily, that game did go in your favor. You are able to move on to the top 16. Now, your next match is going to be a Zerg player. It'll be either Snoot or True. And against Snoot, I know that I think overall he does have like a higher win rate in terms of head-to-head score, but this year when it mattered, you were the one that came out on top. You beat him at GPL, I believe 4-1. You beat him at Homestar Cup 3-0. So can you speak to that a little bit as well as True?
I feel like I really understand the way Snoot plays and how he prepares for matches and stuff like that. Of course, I don't want to say too much about it, but I feel like I understand him. Even if he tries to do something tricky, I have a very good feeling what he does. True, on the other hand, he's like a complete loose cannon. I really hope I don't get through because this guy is really, really crazy. Yeah. Like, he can do anything.
Okay, so I guess we'll see. But Artosis, do you have any last questions for Harstem?
No, I just want to say good luck to you. Really pulling for you to get deep and maybe hit BlizzCon this year.
Thanks.
All right, well, thank you very much, and congratulations again on making it to the top 16 here at the WCS Summer Championship. Guys, after this, we will be headed into our next match of the day. It'll be a TvT with Massive versus Major.